welcome to Her Path, the podcast for busy women looking for purpose, health, and happiness. This week it's all about the Q's, which is questions to ask yourself. So I read somewhere every day in our life we're basically at a minimum asking ourselves at least 3 questions. It's not obvious, and for most people it goes under the radar, meaning it's not conscious. You may not even feel like a question. The first one is, what am I focusing on? That might not feel like a question, yet it leads to decisions that add up to creating the lives we live, and we make it up automatically. Because what we focus on, we get more of. And most of us have routines and rituals, and they're very ingrained over time. And so if you're not totally living on purpose, creating and living and loving your life, you're living a default life. And cognitive behavioral therapy tells us your mind will find an answer to whatever question you feed it, because our brain is built to problem solve. So if you ask yourself things like, what's wrong with me? Your brain will give you a not so good answer. And so I feel like when we upgrade our internal questions, we dramatically change our experience of life. So perhaps adding in the question, what is the most useful thought I could have right now? Or simply, what brings me joy? Or what am I grateful for? Starting your day with those questions just might spur you on to some new thoughts, which, if you think about it, could literally change the entire trajectory of your life. The second question humans often ask themselves is, again, this is probably most subconscious, but what does this mean, since we're all meaning-making machines? The meanings we make drive many emotions and actions. When my mind comes up with a meaning that's not so, what can I say, not so fun, I'll usually take myself deeper and ask, what else could it mean? And I keep asking, what else could it mean, until I come up with a meaning that feels much better. And the third most common question we ask ourselves is, what am I going to do? It can either be something like, what am I going to do today? Or what am I going to do about a particular situation or circumstance? In this case, it's fun to ask yourself, who do I want to be in this particular situation? Because this really opens your mind up to so many possibilities. So ladies, can you tell me, are you aware of any particular questions you ask yourselves?
I try to, at least on a regular basis, when I start my day, I do try to ask myself, how do you want to show up today?
That's good.
Yeah. And usually, I in order to answer that question, I try to tune into how I'm actually feeling. And, we all have those days where we're just feeling tired, or we're not feeling very motivated, or not, don't want to go to work, and just really wish I could just get back into the blankets and get cozy and just, relax for a little bit longer and not have to deal with being an adult. So after I get past that, and all of, the kind of the inertia that comes along with being a grown-up and just moving along with the day, so I actually want to show up in a positive way today. And it varies from day to day. And I guess on that gradient of how positive I want to be that day, it varies sometimes. Sometimes it's very minimal. I'm like, I'm just going to do what I can today, and that's it. And other days, I'm like, I feel amazing today. Today, I'm going to get all my charts done. I'm going to get out on time. Dinner's going to be amazing. I'm going to have, sexy time with my husband at night. It's going to be awesome today. So it varies from day to day, but I do notice that I really need to kind of check into, okay, how am I actually feeling today? What am I actually willing to feel that day? And then make a decision. All right, today we're just going to make it through the day. When I get home, I am going to, take a nap, or we're going to have leftovers today, or I'm not going to make any dinner, and everyone's just going to fend for themselves because I didn't prepare for today. So it does vary from day to day, but I do find it helpful to kind of check in, ask myself, okay, how are we feeling today? All right. And how much are we willing to do today so that we can feel or accomplish the most or the minimum that we're willing to do.
I like it. Did you say, what am I willing to feel?
Because you have to be realistic. At least I know I have to be realistic for myself, because I I find it really hard to fake it. You know, you hear they fake it till you make it. And especially with being in a profession, because as a family medicine doctor, I mean, I'm face to face with people, and you know, that's my job, is one-to-one interactions all day
Right.
long. And I do have to put that aside of how, you know, my issues, what I'm going through, I do have to put that aside in the moment, and kind of hold that space for the person who's coming to see me for their issue. So I do have to kind of be intentional in deciding how I want to show up and how I want to present myself. But it's not always going to be 100%. I'm not always going to be at 100%. And I've learned enough over time to be okay with that.
Right. And not judge yourself.
No.
And to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I have learned. So I use that statement or that question, how do I want to show up, all the time. I use it before every client call. I use it for most things work related, and even, you know, personal.
Mhm.
But I've learned through using that question that you have to be honest and really honest with yourself. And sometimes that's hard.
Mhm.
So I love that one. The other two that I use quite a lot is especially when I'm in not a great space, or really doubting my abilities, I will pause and say, all right, is this a fact or a thought?
Oh, that's good. Is this a fact?
Yeah. And it kind of stops me in my tracks, and it makes me go back and, you know, double check. What am I thinking? Where are these thoughts coming from? How can I think differently about this situation? So when I think about a fact versus a thought, that really makes me stop in my tracks and really consider why I am thinking what I'm thinking, or why I am feeling while I'm feeling, right? Because we know our thoughts drive our feelings, or why I'm doing or not doing. Most of the time, it's what I'm not doing because of my thinking. The other one that I've started to use is it skill or will?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Can you give
this
an
one I
example?
got. What's that? Yeah,
Can you make an example?
yeah. I will go to the coffee shop to do my writing, and I will sit there at the coffee shop and I will look at my screen and I will not write.
Mm.
And I will say to myself, why do you think you can write these blogs every week? You can't do that. You're a respiratory therapist turned coach, right? With a lot of other things in between. But I have to go back and really question myself. Is it that you don't have the skill to write? And you know you do, because you write them all. You have 2 years worth of blogs out there. Or is it will?
Interesting.
I'm procrastinating. I don't like the act of writing, or I'd rather be doing something different. But this one I've been trying to use more often, especially when I'm not feeling motivated. Is it skill or will? So hopefully those are useful to our listeners. But those are the ones that I've really been focusing on.
That kind of feeds into like what I've been doing, because I have a Facebook group now, and I've been posting every day in it. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, kind of not freaking out, but getting a little bit, upset. Like, what, I don't know what to post. I don't know. So I'll go to bed and I'll say, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have an amazing idea for a post. And I let it go. And normally it always happens.
I love your posts. I think your posts are creative, and you go from like science-based and kind of recommendations to like fun, sense of humor, kind of very light ones. I think you do amazing with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice.
So obviously those questions that you ask for yourself and, definitely are helpful in kind of like setting a curriculum for yourself
Mhm.
for your intentions, or kind of I think it just helps you dig deeper sometimes into what you're actually thinking, because I feel that's something that I can do better on, is asking myself questions. I kind of find myself being like someone who just kind of plows through without really asking myself, without really thinking about some of those internal kind of, thought processes that can definitely shape your whole experience. I
Right.
tend to be very concrete and very task oriented. And so taking the moment to stop and really asking yourself, like the one that you had mentioned, Nancy, is how am I feeling right now in the moment?
Right.
And it's super simple. You think, like, really, that's a very simple, basic question, but acknowledging and noticing how what you're feeling can change from minute to minute
Right.
in a simple interaction or an experience, and being really in tune with that
Mm-hmm.
can then open up your awareness to why you are feeling or acting or reacting in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And those micro kind of moments, they tend to add up in the whole kind of duration of our experience, of our whole experience. And being aware of that can really help us just not go through life mindlessly.
Right.
I mean, it sounds really vague and sounds really like nebulous, but you know, it can go from a moment of, having an interaction with someone, at work, to driving home. And even on that drive home, someone cuts you off in traffic or what have you. And I have to really be like, okay, wait a minute, what happened here? Why are you irked? Someone cut you off in traffic. Like, what's the big deal? Like, just simple micro little questions like that throughout the day can really help either de-escalate an anxiety that'll progress into, a road rage or a explosive reaction, to kind of just taking the edge off of something.
Exactly. I feel like we all have the answers inside of us too, but we don't really give ourselves the quiet time to reflect because we've got so many distractions. I mean, phones and TVs and kids and people and jobs. And but if you really ask yourself the question and just really settle and live the question, really settle into it and just really dig deep and just allow it to come up, journal or think or whatever. But I feel like we all have the answers within us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with my clients, I spend a lot of time teaching them how to pay attention to their thoughts, how to pay attention to themselves. I think, Gabby, it was you that said that you just steamroll ahead, right?
Right.
And most people do that. And it's not necessarily natural to pay attention to our thoughts, to pay attention to our feelings and our actions. But it's always very eye-opening when I work with my clients on, let's do a thought download. Let's just put every thought that's coming in and out of our head down on paper for 5 minutes. And now let's look at them. Do they serve us? Do they not serve us? How can we change those thoughts to be something that serves us a little better? And it's
Right.
always astounding to me how eye-opening it is and what a revelation it is for them.
It
And
is.
just like it was for us when we went through, our coaching school and learned how to be coaches together. That was the first time I'd given a lot of focused attention on my thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What would you say to someone who thinks thinking is exhausting? It is exhausting to think about everything, all the things. I need to think about, am I eating healthy? Am I exercising? Am I taking care of myself? Am I taking care of my family? Am I doing a good job? How can, because I feel like so many of us have mental fatigue, but
Mhm.
I'm not 100% convinced that it comes from the just in general thinking. I think, in my opinion, it comes more from allowing those those thoughts that don't serve us to kind of overpower. And it's more like the anxiety, those kind of almost irrational thoughts that just keep coming back intrusively. But from people I talk to, I feel so many people have mental fatigue from just letting their mind go rogue, like a, like a undisciplined toddler.
Right, right. Yeah.
I think it's the mental fatigue from those thoughts that don't serve us.
Right.
We've talked over and over again how our minds can be assholes, right? And when our minds are assholes, that's exhausting.
It
I
is.
also think that, especially for women, the external pressures, the societal pressures, you have to do everything. You have to have a big career and raise kids and take care of a household and have friends and read these books and watch these shows. That can cause our thoughts to just go haywire because there's so many expectations that we put on ourselves, but then society puts on us too.
Right. For sure. I
Yeah.
remember, when the kids were at home, I just was wishing for a day where I could just stare at the wall, not do a ding dong thing, just not think, just stare. I want to just go in the closet and just sit and not do anything.
Yeah.
But I've been using a lot more silence with my clients when I ask a question. I just shut up and let them, and I don't jump in. I just let them be with it. And it's been interesting. When people say, I don't know, you ask them a question, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, just have a moment and think about it. I'm just going to be quiet and let you think. And I don't know.
What's fascinating to do that with a teenager?
Mm,
Teenagers can be so, I don't know. My experience with my teenagers is one word answers: fine,
right.
good, okay. But if I give them silence, it seems like it's when I want silence and I want to rest and I want to not think, that they will just start spewing everything out. And it's amazing. So sometimes silence can help us get in tune with our internal monologue and some of those thoughts that have been brewing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna,
like silence. I like the silence with my clients. I haven't tried it with my teenagers, but I'm going to.
oh, yeah.
But with my clients, they sometimes get very uncomfortable with it, but that's part of getting used to paying attention to your thinking and paying attention to yourself, is getting used to that silence.
I was uncomfortable with it. I remember I had a coach one time. I don't think he said 3 words to me. And I had to just sit and but it just brought up so much stuff, which was really, really good for me. So now I'm practicing that as well. And it is not, at first it feels really awkward because you want to feel it, you feel uncomfortable. But if you can just sit with it and feel the discomfort, it melts away. And then pretty soon it really is a very therapeutic interaction with people. Very nice. So one of the questions I'll share on a personal note for myself is I've had some back pain that I've been, dealing with, going to different therapies and things like that. And so for me, what I've been asking myself is how can I be even kinder to myself? Which has been a really interesting question to ask. How can I be even kinder? And who do I need to be for me? And what do I need? Has been a really good question to ask. But how can I be kinder to myself? Which is interesting. It's
Say that
about,
second one again.
what's that?
Say the second one again.
Who do I need to be? For me.
Yep.
Who do I need to be for me? And how can I be even kinder to myself?
And when you do that, does guilt ever come in?
No. It's interesting, it doesn't. No.
That's awesome.
I just think, okay. Well, for me, I think this whole thing for me has been, I really need to slow down because I used to go 90 miles an hour. And having back pain, you have to slow down. You just don't move fast. And I mean, it took me 2 hours to mow the lawn. But hey, that's it, right? So I had 2 hours, so I mowed the lawn. How can I be kinder to myself? I don't beat myself up. That's one of them. Don't judge it. It's what it is. It'll get better. I just need more time and need to be patient.
And that's something you love to do, right? I think I remember you talking about that a couple of times, that you absolutely love doing that.
Mowing the lawn,
Yeah.
it's very zen for me. My mind
Mhm.
just clears and it's just, I don't know. It's like you see progress, you know?
Mhm.
So I like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So to make a shift, I'll say start asking yourselves better questions. Maybe as soon as you wake up in the morning, maybe start out with what am I grateful for? Maybe how will I take care of myself today? How will I show up for my family? How will I love them? Can I love people harder? What do I need to change in order to grow is good? Who can I inspire today? I like. Where do I want to go today? What do I want to do? Because questions can inspire us and motivate us. They conjure up a variety of emotions and they help us to get to know ourselves even deeper, which I think is critical since we take yourselves wherever we go. So, okay, ladies, thanks for listening, and it's a wrap. And if you like this, would you please give us a review or share it or just a simple thumbs up? Until next time, have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, one more thing before we leave. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are certified professional coaches, but this broadcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice. Okay, thanks for listening. See you next week.